Welcome back to your weekly dose of encouragement. This month, we have dedicated all of our podcasts to encourage and to help moms in all stages of life. But I wanted you to know that no matter what phase that you are in, I can tell you these podcasts will bring encouragement and help to you along your journey. I also know that we get so busy with life, especially in the summertime. And I wanted to send out a reminder that if you have not yet signed up for your free coaching session, now is a great time to get that scheduled. If you are wanting to start something, even if you're not sure what it looks like, you have some ideas and you just want to run them by someone, or if you have started something, but you're just feeling stuck and you need some help restarting those ideas and dreaming big again, head over to unashamedlyu.com, select the coaching tab, and schedule that first session for completely free. I would love to help this be the year that you lived in faith over fear. Hello, and welcome to the Unashamedly You podcast, a space to enlighten, encourage, and empower you to go out and unashamedly be who God is calling you to be. I am your host, Jamie Herndon. I pray you hear less of me and more of Him as you listen to today's episode. Let's grow together. We have a special guest on the podcast today for the Motherhood series. She is a mom I personally look up to so much. I have been begging her to get on this podcast, and I'm really, really excited about this one. She is so kind and loving. Her smile is radiant. You can feel her love for her children and her family, even through her post on social media. She is a very special lady, and I'm just so honored to have her with us today. Shelley Bass, welcome to the Unashamedly You podcast. And if you'll just take a moment and tell us a little bit more about you.
Hello, everyone. I am 50 years old and I'm currently going to college. I just finished my first semester at Southwest and I have been married for 32 years to a wonderful man, my favorite preacher. And I have four children, Trenton, Miles, Brendan, and Grace. I think out of all the roles in my life, my very favorite role is being a mom, their mom. My second favorite thing is, I love people. It's my very favorite thing in the world. I love people. Everywhere we go, I meet friends. I make friends. Um, but all out of all those people, my favorite people are my family. We're all over the place now. I live in Memphis, Tennessee now for the last couple years. Um, and then my oldest son is in heaven and my middle boy is in Sacramento, California, and, my youngest boy is in Florida, and me and Grace is in Memphis. And currently today, my husband's in Michigan. So we're, like, everywhere, but they're my favorite people, honestly.
You guys, if you can feel her love for her family, even just through her introduction. And one thing that I have appreciated about you is how loving of a mother that you are. Your love shows and is radiant to everyone who knows you and sees you with your children, the interactions that you have with them, talking about you and Grace. I know that you guys are so close. You have a great relationship, but also your relationship with your boys as well. What does a relationship first approach to motherhood look like to you?
I think the most important thing that you can do is to endeavor to be close to each of your children. I have always been close to all of them. But they tease me about having favorites, believe it or not. I have favorites. I have all 4 of them are my favorites. Um, I have had people pass us my boys, I'm talking about my boys at this time. We'll be on our way to school, and some people in our church would see us in traffic, and they would say, "You guys look like you are having so much fun." And I'm like, "We were." But we do. We would I made fun. We had fun everywhere we go. In the car. We had fun. Uh, Grace and I have fun everywhere we go. We have the best time. You would not even believe how much fun we have. My daughter always told me multiple times throughout her life, "Mom, we should have a YouTube channel." She's like, "It's not fair for us to have so much fun." But it's just the way I don't like not having fun. I'm a fun person. I like to laugh a lot. I like especially that kind that make you just throw your head back and just laugh. I always tried to, if I was going through something, I tried to hide it from my children because I didn't want them to see me. I know that people think, "Yeah, you should let your kids see you sad." Well, they did, obviously. But if I'm carrying a heavy load, I tried not to make them carry that too. So, like, even when my son died, after that, Gracie would be asleep still. The boys was gone to school, my husband's gone to work, and I would be at home by myself, and I would be a mess. And then I would hear her coming down the stairs, and I would hurry up and dry my face and put a big smile on, and I always said stuff like I can't remember exactly how it goes. It's something like, "The birds are singing again, the sun is shining again, my baby just came in the door," you know? I said that to her, and I don't know where I got it from, but she remembered that, and she was, doing a makeup, and somebody said that on there. And she said, "Mom, they said the same thing that you say to me." But it's true, like, when my children are if I get a phone call from Miles, on the phone, as soon as I see his name, my heart just lights up, and that's what I wanted my kids to be. I wanted them to know that every time that I saw them, I would smile at them because I would try to light up even if I was down. I would try not to let them know because I want them to think and know that they are important to me and that they make me happy. 'Course, they really do make me happy. When they're going through stuff, I've it's like my own trial, you know? But when they're happy and they're having good things happen in their life, it makes me so happy, and then just to be their mom, it makes me so happy.
I know keeping those relationships is so important, and then you have some older children, like you said, they're married and they're in a different place right now. Those relationships that you created then whenever you were in the car and in the middle of traffic and all the things that you were talking about and just having fun and having a good time, then I know that that makes that relationship, I know, goes further and deeper now that they're far away.
Mhm. It does. It really does. It's hard, you know, being away, but they're living their purpose, and they're where God wants them. Miles is actually going to law school this year. So he's supposed to start that, and I'm so proud of him. And, Brendan is still in Ocala where we were at, and he's helping in the church, and mm, they're both doing wonderful jobs, and I'm just super proud.
I know that you are. How would you say that a personal relationship with the Lord shapes the way that you mother your children? I know that our relationship with God is so important, especially through motherhood. I cannot imagine being a mom trying to make it without the Lord. What role do you feel like that played the most in being a mom?
Well, the most important thing to me was that my kids are saved. And so just living the life in front of them, that's a really big deal. You can't be one thing at home and then be another thing at church. You can't have people for dinner or the pastor for dinner or a preacher for dinner and expect your children to love God and love his people. You have to love the church and you can't talk about the shortcomings of people in front of your kids, even if it's really devastating. My kids to this day will ask me about certain situations because they knew something happened because they saw me upset, but they did not know what happened. And every so often, one of my kids would say, "Well, what happened?" And I said, "I'm not telling you." that's what we should do. We don't necessarily want our kids to think that every saint is perfect. You have to let them know that the church is people, and there's gonna be people that aren't living right. There's gonna be visitors, there's gonna be guests. You have to be careful. It should be a safe place. But at the same time, you don't want them to think bad of the church, and you definitely don't want them to think bad of leadership. I think it's a big deal to, nowadays we have iPhones and, our iPads and our computers, and we can read our Bible on all those things. But my husband made this. I like to read my Bible on the phone because I like to hear it. But my husband would do it with his Bible and, like, at breakfast, right after breakfast, because he wanted his kids to know he was reading his Bible, because they don't know what you're doing. They just see you on your phone, or they see unless they can hear it. Um, so I think it's a big deal. I think it's a really big deal, like, to this is one way that I live for God and show my daughter that I'm doing my disciplines. I could go to church and pray while she's at school, but she needs to pray too. And so I don't do that, even though it's more convenient, because then I have the whole evening to myself to do other things. But I'll wait till she gets out of school, and then we'll go by the church to pray. Except sometimes on Wednesdays, like today, we'll wait and we'll just go before church. But I feel like it's a very important thing. You to know that that's just part of living for God. When my son died, my daughter didn't even know there was anything wrong, really. She thought we were praying. We'd cry and just sob, and she just thought we were just praying. So, we're not perfect, okay? I don't mean to ever convey that, because there's days that I haven't prayed. So, I'm not saying that I'm the most perfect Christian and that I'm not trying to convey that at all. I'm a normal person. I'm sure everybody in the whole world has times where they haven't prayed and they knew they should, or whatever. I'm just trying to help somebody to maybe have an idea to include their children in everything they do, because especially spiritual things. I personally, not always been the most confident person. I think that builds as you grow older, but I didn't want that for my daughter. And so I wanted her to feel like she could do anything, anything. If she wanted to do it, she got to do it. So when we make peanut brittle at the church, she was right there in the middle of it. If we were doing a fundraiser, she was right there in the middle of it. It doesn't matter what I was doing, if I was cooking, if I was cleaning, whatever, she would be right there with me. She's just my little bestie. And we did life together, and that's what you have to do. And when you do life without your kids and you just let them play on your stuff, and you're doing your stuff that you have to do, and they're just in their own little world, that's not teaching them anything. And I feel like they're growing up without a childhood, whenever they're always on those things. And I know adults can be just as bad. I mean, I try not to pick up my phone unless everybody else has got their phones out, because I don't want my kids to think that they're boring, or that whatever they're saying isn't important. Um, Matter of fact, when my son, a lot of times Miles will call me, and I will go outside and I will walk. We have a lake not far from our house, so I'll walk around the lake and talk to him, because I don't want my dog will she thinks she's important too. So she will bark at me and boss me around. So, and then Raising might start talking to me, or, I don't get to talk to him very often. So more so than not, as far as like he calls me a lot. But I don't want him to ever feel like I don't want to talk to him, or that I'm distracted, because he's important to me.
I love that you mentioned doing life with them and not just allowing them. It's easy for us as moms, especially, and parents, to think in the middle of church work or getting stuff done, you're doing things, and it'd be easier just, "Oh, you go over here in this corner and you sit down and you look at this tablet," or, you read a book or build something over here, do something where they're off to the side and you're busy doing the kingdom work that you're doing. But I love that you said getting them involved, having them right there doing it. They can do it too, if you're in the middle of cooking, they can help do something. For the Arkansas International Camp Meeting here in North Little Rock, they have sign-up sheets, and you do something before camp meeting, to help out with cleaning the church or just little detail things that maybe not always get done. And since the day that my kids could walk, I've always picked something that they could help do. And every year for Arkansas International Camp Meeting, my kids have helped in some way of cleaning that church from the time they could just hold a little rag walking around.
Yes.
We have dusted the ends of pews, we've cleaned baseboards, we've cleaned the nursery where they were in there spraying down and helping clean toys, always doing something, but I told my husband, I said, "I want them whenever they get older to know, like, it's camp meeting time, it's time to work, like,
Right.
that's our whole life, it's just part of it, it's normal life now." And then my daughter, she's getting a little older, Ada's 13, and she's been able to do more things, and help in other ways as well, helping with dinners and putting tablecloths on tables, that's something you get to do more so than when you're 6 and 7, getting to do things like that. She's helped at the school functions, and I always think back to that. I'm like, "I want her to know, like, your place is in the church."
Right. That's for sure.
In today's busy culture, and we've talked about this, there's stuff going on nonstop with everybody. But what are some intentional ways that you prioritize one-on-one time with your children? That's not something, I'm a mom of 3, you're a mom of 4. There's different ages, different ranges, and it's important, I feel like, to get that one-on-one time in, but it's not always easy or convenient.
It's not. It's not at all, especially with my kids now. If I'm gonna have that, I'll be going to them most likely. So, matter of fact, I just scheduled a trip to go see Miles in July, and, so we're gonna all me, my husband, and Grace are going out there to be with him and Yuri, and, I'm really excited about that, and I probably will go see Brendan and Cadence, but I'm not sure when, but hopefully the summertime, and then my mom and dad too. I I know we're not talking about mom and dad, but I'm a daughter too. But I think it's important that you take care you make sure and spend time. I always lived right there by my mom. So now she lives in Texas. So she's almost 80. So I wanna make sure I spend time with her too. Even though I was a stay-at-home mom, I was also pastor's wife at the time too. My kids are part of the time. So when my kids were going to school, it's very hard to make sure that you have that time. Um, Cooking dinner and having dinner or cooking a dessert, trying to just get everybody in the kitchen, trying to get everybody together. We used to play games a lot. So one thing that I did, every single night was my boys were used to me coming and putting them to bed all the way up till my son died. Like, even after that, after he died, I would still go. But they would leave the light on. They would not even turn the light off because they knew that I would have to come and tell them good night if the light was still on. And so, but I would do it anyways. So I would go in first to Miles and Brennan because they shared a room at the time. And then I would talk to them and tell them goodnight, and then I would go to Trent's room, and then when I would say, "Okay, guys, I gotta go tell Trent goodnight," they're like, "Mom, you always go in there and you talk forever to him and you don't talk to us like that," and I'm like, "I'm so sorry, but if I do that to every child, I'm not gonna ever get to bed." So, but now they both will say that I needed that time, so God knew, but, that's one thing I would always do is I would always make time for them before for that. to talk to them and pray with them or, you know, love on them, every one of them, each one of them. Um, Grace is the same way. I have to go tell her goodnight, and if I go back in her room for something, I have to kiss her again, and it's like I never went in there. But, yeah, I wouldn't trade nothing for it. We also exercise a lot together. Um, I'm a big deal that's a big deal to me because I always wanted to keep myself nice and, healthy for my kids. I really wanted to be that mom that would play like, I had boys, I was not a girl mom at the time. I wanted to be that mom that was fit, so when the boys would play basketball, I'd go play basketball with them. I couldn't do that. But I still I would play around with it, but I don't know the rules or anything, but they love basketball and they would rather play with their buddies, but, um, with me and Grace, though, she had, um she had to exercise for her health, and so we make a big deal about that. It's a priority. I go walk, she skates because she hates to walk. So we go and then matter of fact, this morning, we started working out again, and we were up there at 5:15 this morning. So we did a real intense workout, and then we come home, we got showers, and then she went to school. So that is a big deal to me. I want my kids to think that taking care of your body is important. We enjoy exercising together. That's something that me and Grace love.
I think that's so important to find something that you can bond with. Like you said, I mean, just as simple as exercising, you're going to do it anyways. So if you're a mom and you're listening to this and you're like, you already go on a walk, invite your child that would be more of an age appropriate to want to do that to go with you.
Yes. Gracie used to ride her bike whenever she was younger. I've always included her in exercise. But as she got older, she was diagnosed as pre-diabetic. And so we had to do something. We had no choice but to do something. And so at that point, she had kind of gotten off the wagon. So then we started doing the HIIT workout, and she she lost 20 pounds and she started looking great, feeling great, and she loved working out. And so we love working out. It makes you feel so good to take care of your body.
It really does. And it's so important. Like you said, the older that we get, the more we realize the nutrition and exercise was so important. And we can't redo a lot of things for ourselves, but we can help our children so that they get on a
Yes.
better path than what we were.
Right.
And I love that you talked about that you went in each one of their rooms to tell them all good night because that's something that every single one of us can do is take that time. And as your children get older, I can only imagine that those conversations become more important for you as a mom than at that point.
I'm so glad I did. I can't imagine. I mean, sometimes when someone passes away, you have a lot of regret, but I honestly don't really have a lot of regret. Um, I'm so grateful to my husband for letting me stay at home because that's where I wanted to be. That was my passion. I love being a mom and I love taking care of my home and I love all the things, and I'm just so thankful that he carried that financial load for all those years. And so that I could be home. And now I'm gonna be I do work some now, but my daughter's getting older and so I can take her with me like during the summer when I sometimes babysit here.
So we talked about, ways to prioritize some one-on-one time with your children. But another thing that I have heard moms talk about is, handling seasons where your children need more of your emotional or even spiritual attention. We all know that, your kids can go through things and then as they get older can go through even more things. And taking that seriously, I think sometimes it's easy to kind of blow those things off as, oh, it's part of growing up or just part of being a girl and getting older, or part of, what guys go through. But I think that it's important as mothers to realize to realize whenever they're in that season and to be what we're supposed to be to them, and that is a mom and a help.
Absolutely. I also feel like that, if you don't have a good relationship with your child, you need to make sure that you try to work on that somehow, whatever you can think of. If you've done something that I've always this is what I practiced. Um, if I feel like I was wrong, if I said something wrong, or if I said it in the wrong way, anything that I've done, anything that I feel like I had done that was hurtful, anything. I'm not talking about us thinking, but like I'm talking about their feelings. I would apologize, even as a little baby. Like I would tell them I'm sorry. One thing that I used to do, I used to take a nap on Sunday afternoon, and my kids would take a nap. But when they would wake me up, I would get so angry. And I mean, I would turn into this huge bear. And I'm like, what in the world? Where did that come from? And so I intentionally decided not to do that anymore. I will not take Sunday naps anymore because I am not going to treat my kids bad. That is not okay. So I feel like if you find something that you're doing that is hurting your children, you see yourself not acting in the right way, change it, stop it, whatever it is, it doesn't matter what it is. So asking for forgiveness, I think that's important for them to see that you're not perfect and that you don't think you're perfect. Also, like in the ministry, um, I feel like it's important to listen to your children, and if they're needing something from you, in hindsight, you know, ministry, being a pastor's wife or being a preacher's wife or being whatever role you're playing, it doesn't usually come with a manual, like how to do, like, what do you do? This is what you do when they do this, or this is. And so you try to be everything to everybody. And sometimes I feel like we should choose our kids more so than what we do because they get put on like on the back burner. Well, okay, we'll do that when we get home. We're doing this right now. Or if they're upset, if they're visibly upset about something, I feel like as a mom, you should stop what you're doing and find a place to go where you can talk and just at least hear them. If you can't not if you can't leave and just spend time with them there, go home, at least listen to them and hear what they have to say. Um, because I mean, I look back on my life and there's people that I have invested time in, lots of time, and they're not even here anymore. And my kids, I had to take away the time from them to be with these people. And, you know, thankfully my kids don't hold it against me, but I would probably choose differently now. Hindsight's always better.
So true.
Yeah. I feel like it's important to be so close to your children that when they're struggling, you realize it. One of my children was struggling, and I had mentioned it to my mom that I was concerned, and she said, "Shelley, you just worry too much. They're gonna be fine." And I said, "Mom, you don't understand. Like whenever they are doing good spiritually, we are like they're right there, like we are very close. So we talk and we share, but when they're not doing well, then they distance themselves." So that's kind of how I would gauge it. And so whenever they were distancing themselves, I would pray harder. So I feel like if you'll keep that good relationship, then if you keep it close, then you'll know and they'll share with you when they're struggling and they won't keep it inside, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense. That's so good. Which it's like you had said from the very beginning, as long as you keep that relationship with them, then you can pick up on things with your kids. You
Mhm.
can pick up on their emotions, but whenever you're allowing them to just be in their bedroom or be on tablets or be away from you or you're busy and you're doing things and life is busy and it's not where you can always be right there and as much attention as what you want to give. But as long as you're realizing that it's your priority at this time and stage in their lives to know what's going on, then it is easier to pick up on those things and have that spiritual discernment that I know the Lord blesses mothers with.
Yes, absolutely.
What encouragement would you offer to a mom that she feels pulled in 100 different directions, but she's wanting that connection with her kids and she's wanting to maybe even reconnect? Maybe that connection's not been there. She's listening to this and she's thinking, I need that with my family.
Well, I would say to take a step back and see what is the most important thing. Is the most important thing is first of all for our children to be saved. That's the most important thing. But also you want them to know that you love them and that they matter. So there's things that we do that we can say no to. There there's things that we just really don't have to do, you know? And I feel like that you should maybe make a list and put the most important should be God, your husband, your kids. And then all the other people should be on this other list. And these people are your ministry. They're your first ministry. And so take care of these people first. And then if you have time, give time to them, give time to other people. But when I I really did most of my ministry before I was pastor's wife was all to my family. I mean, I taught Sunday school too and things like that, but my focus was on my family and I loved it so much and I don't regret that. I do not regret that.
I think that that's so important. The thing that you had said about, realizing there's some things that we just don't have to do. And that's kinda hard because sometimes some of the things we are doing, it feels so important, like we feel like it's really important that we do this, and you'll look at the list and think, but is it more important than my children getting this one-on-one time with me, or is it more important than being there for them? And if it's not more important than that, keeping those priorities in line.
One thing I did think about was back when Miles and Brendan, all of us were all in one house still. Trenton was already passed. But my husband was doing AST. Miles was doing college. Brendan was doing college. I was doing college. My daughter was doing homeschool. I think I did one class, and it was a ministry class. And everybody was so stressed out. I said, "You know what? I have to do this. I'm not doing any more classes while everybody else is doing college." Everybody else can be stressed out, but there needs to be one person in this house that's not stressed out and can take care of everybody else. So I just waited. And so now I'm going to college now. And I still work it around Grace's schedule. I would never put college before my daughter. But I feel like at the same time, I'm inspiring her to go to college. And she's so proud of me. Like, and she even helps me sometimes because I haven't really, I didn't grow up with computers. I do know how to do some things, but there's some things I don't know how to do, probably a lot. So she helps me a lot. Not a lot, I shouldn't say a lot, but she has helped me several times. And she thinks it's so cool that she's helping me in college.
I can use Ada's help all the time with stuff on my phone. Even Ezra, he changes stuff on my phone and thinks it's so funny because he knows I don't know how to change it back.
You know what my son Brendan did? I'm gonna tell on him. He this was back probably when he was like 10. He got my phone and he edited it where I like if I type something to someone on a text, it would stay in the middle of it. If I put the word the, it would say, "Brennan is my favorite child," right in the middle of the text. And I wasn't even realizing it. And so I was sending out these texts to everybody, and it was just and I didn't know how to get it off.
I know that you have 4 children, and you said, you had Gracie a little bit later, and so you had some teens at the same time, and then you have some adult children at the time that you're having now a teen.
Mhm.
How do you lead your children in spiritual matters when they're at different levels or maybe different understandings of interest?
Well, now they're obviously not in their home, so they're pretty much on their own as far as their walk with God, you know? Um, but I still pray for them. I still hedge about them every day. Um, I still pray for them if I feel like, you know, just talking with them or whatever, if you feel like there's a burden there, or, you try to help carry that through prayer. Um, Basically, that's all you can do. I feel like as a mom is listen a lot. I don't usually give any counsel because unless they ask for it, but I'm just not that mom. I want them they're adults. They're grown men, and I don't tell them what to do. Well, I would pray in the home, and I didn't do it for this reason, but they would hear me pray. Like, I'm not a little prayer, like a quiet prayer. So, like one time, we had a really pretty big house, and I went on the outside porch with the door shut to that inside, and I was praying out there, and Trenton was in his room with the door shut, and it was quite a bit of ways. And so later on, we were talking, and he said something about he could hear me praying, and of course, I was really praying for him because I needed to, and I felt like I needed to. So he's like, "Mom, I could hear you all the way in my room." And I didn't do that on purpose, but it's important for them to have those memories though. I want my boys or my daughter to be able to say, "I heard my mom pray. She prayed for me. She loved me enough to pray for me." If you love someone, you will pray for them.
I do totally agree. It's so important for our children to hear us pray. And I was recently talking to another mom, and we were talking, at church and your children seeing you worship. That's so important to me.
Yes.
And making sure that they see you worship, they see you involved because the Bible talks about you are training them up in the way they should go. And if you're not teaching and training them, you shouldn't be expecting anybody else to do that either.
Right.
And if you're not worshiping, more than likely they're not going to worship. And it's the same exact thing with praying. I think a lot of times we'll pray quietly or we'll pray off by ourselves, but who's training them on how to pray?
Mhm.
I can go back and there's times that I'll be at prayer meeting and I will remember and hear Sister Jan Holmes and Sister Agnes Holmes praying, and I can hear their prayers and I'll try to repeat them. I'm thinking, like I
Yes.
remember prayers that they prayed or things that they said. And I remember that growing up, hearing that whenever I would go to prayer meeting and, you could hear them in the church praying. And for our children to be able to do the exact same thing, we're leading them. What are some prayers that you regularly have prayed over your children?
One of the main things was protection over my kids. I I always pray for protection for my children. My mom said I used to do that when I was a little kid. I would pray every time we got in the car, and I would say, "Jesus, keep your hand on our car." I don't know why. I don't know. I don't know if someone was driving bad. Not really done. But no, my mom would actually say that I would do that. But I I always pray a hedge over my children. I pray that if they're doing something that they're not supposed to be doing, that God would let them understand that. And um, I'd rather them get it right with God. I don't have to know about it, you know? they have a relationship with God, and if he talks to them, then they can get it right like that. Um, I pray for their pastors, now, um, because they're teaching my children, and I want my children to be saved, and, I want my grandkids to be saved eventually. I don't have any right now. I pray for their finances. I pray for, their home, that God would protect their home and that any kind of demonic spirits that would come against their home, that Jesus would bind that, because I don't want, you don't stop being a mom just because they're not in your home. You want the best for your children. You want them to blossom and be what God wants them to be. And the devil doesn't want that, obviously. And so you just have to keep praying for them and keep, praying for God to protect them and to keep them. I prayed the day my son died, I prayed for him. I prayed for his protection. I prayed for everybody at that place because I said that would be so weird for all those thousands of people to leave and nobody getting like a wreck or something happen. So, can you imagine how I felt if I would not have prayed for him? That would have been very hurtful. And I'm really thankful that I did think to do that. Um, that's one thing that I after my son died, the devil, he likes to talk in our ear and he said, where was God? You prayed for all those people and you prayed for your son and look what happened. You prayed for everybody and he chose your son. And I said, I didn't really acknowledge him. I just started praying and saying, God, you're faithful. I just started telling God all the things that he was because all the things that I know he was. I said, you're faithful. You were there. I couldn't be there, but you were there. And it didn't take you by surprise. You know, God doesn't get surprised by things. He knows what's going to happen, I feel like. And so I pray every day for their protection. I ask God to keep his hand on them, to guide them. And basically, for their homes to flourish and bless them financially, bless them spiritually. You know, you don't ever stop doing that. With my daughter going to school, I'll pray for her, you know, because she's there and she's the only one really. And so, all these people need Jesus and, help God to help her to be right and to be a good example. And I want her to pull them to God, not them pull her to the world. So,
I know as a mom, like you said, you just never stop. You never stop praying.
mm.
You never stop putting those prayers around your children, around your babies. If anyone knows as a mother how important priorities and relationship is, I feel like that it's you, which is one reason why I wanted to talk to you about this subject today. What is a habit or a mindset that can help a mom realign or make sure that her priorities in motherhood are right?
Well, I will say this. I only had 18 years with my one son. If you have a child that you don't feel like your relationship is that great, and think about this, if they was to die at 18, would you be okay with the way your relationship is today? What would you do to change it? What can you do to make it better? Sometimes, you know, it's I feel like with every child, I have 4 children. I have a different relationship with every one of them, and they like to pick on me about having favorites, but I really don't. I really feel like I can say that truthfully. I love each one of them the same, a whole lot, but every one of them has different personalities, and your personality and their personality won't always click because, like, if you're a really quiet person and they're like a really hyper person, you're gonna get on each other's nerves sometimes. But you have to put that aside and try to find the good. If you have some that some child that you're having a hard time with, find something that you can help with it. Like, find some positive thing about them. Start affirming them and the good things that they are doing, and try not to say so much about the negative things that they're doing. I feel like if you give them affirmation, which is something I love to do, they will feel that love coming from you, and if they are trying to be aggravating, then they might not do it as much if they feel like you love them, that you truly love them, you know? I tell my kids every day, no, I'm not my boys anymore because I don't talk to them every day, but I tell when they were in my home, I told my kids every day, several times, I'm not even kidding, "I love you. You're the best. You're so handsome. You're beautiful." Um, all the things. Like, it just comes right out of me. I don't think about it. I just think they're the best thing in the whole wide world. And they are. I'm sure every mom does, and they should think that. But I just love my kids so much and my family, and I just love people so much, and I want them to know they matter, and my family, they definitely matter to me, and I want them to know that. I don't ever want them to second guess that ever. And so it was such a big deal to me to be affirmative to them. And I feel like if you have a problem with the child, you need to think about that. What if you only have so much time with them? Would you be okay? What if God took them today? Would you be okay with that? If not, you need to try to fix it, whatever you have to do.
We really you never know. You never know what lies ahead. You never know what tomorrow holds. And that is one reason why I feel like that this podcast and having you on is so important is because I know that if anyone knows that, you do. And so many times we can think, even as parents, we're raising children. And so we just assume they have a full, long life ahead.
Right.
And we assume we'll get more time. You may not have time right now, but you'll get time and you'll get time in the future and you'll have, but we're not promised that. But you do have right now, you do have today. And like you were saying, it doesn't matter what you have to do, fix it. If your priorities aren't in line, start lining them up. If you're not doing the things that you know you need to be doing as a mother, find a way to make sure that it's done because one thing I've heard you say so many times in this podcast is your greatest ministry is in your home. That's where your priorities should lie and what the priorities that God gave you.
Right.
And it's so important. This podcast has been absolutely amazing, like I knew that it would be. I was so excited whenever you agreed to come on. You guys, honestly, this is such a treat, and if you've enjoyed it, you're welcome. I told her over and over again. I think we've been trying for over a year to get her on here, and I'm just so grateful that she agreed to come on and talk about something that I knew she would be perfect at, and that's motherhood. But Sister Bass, what is one last thing that you would want to leave with the Unashamedly You community today?
The one thing that I would encourage all moms to do is learn to smile, learn to laugh at yourself, learn to laugh about many things as you can find to laugh about. Let your kids have fun. Have fun with your kids. Make life fun. Don't make it all about chores or about we gotta do this, we gotta do that. Enjoy your family. They're not gonna be there forever. And I really feel like I did that, and I'm so glad I did. I would not change that part at all. There's things that I did, yes, I would change, but I loved being with my family, and I still do. It's my favorite thing in the world, and me and Grace, we have so much fun. People would not even believe it. We laugh all the time, and we enjoy each other, and she will tell you, like, and it means a lot because what she says or what my kids say about me, that matters to me more than anybody else. They know you. The people that live with you, they know you. And so for her to say things to other people like, "My mom's an angel," or "My mom is my person," or things like that. Or she said the other day, and she made me a little social media post for Mother's Day, and she said, "My mom is the one that makes me feel the most at home." I'm just like, those are the things that make my heart just explode. I love being a mom, and I hope that whoever's listening, will start having fun with their family and have a blast. Just go have fun, enjoy each other, look at videos together and laugh. We have so much fun, and I want you to do that too. Enjoy your family.
And those will be the moments that they'll remember, or all the
I
time
told my
you
Grace
laugh.
that. I said, When I pass away, like, she will video me, like, when I'm not even knowing it, and I'll be acting stupid, and she's like, "Mom?" And then she'll show me later, I'll go, it's so you never know what she's gonna do, so I just don't even care. I said, "Y'all are gonna if I die at my funeral, if she shows these videos, nobody's gonna be crying. They're gonna be dying, laughing."
Go keep them laughing all the time.
Yes.
This has been such a special podcast. Thank you so much for sharing your heart and your laughter with all of us. And I, for one, have been encouraged to go and make life fun. Like you said, it's easy to be about the chores, about life, about all the things that are going on. But it's the most important to have a good time, to have fun, and to laugh along the way. So I've been encouraged to go and do that. I'm going to get fun with my kids. Thank you so much for this podcast and sharing your heart and taking your time with us today.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you for listening to another episode on the Unashamedly You podcast. I pray that this podcast was an encouragement and a strength and a help to you on life's journey. If you ever have a topic that you want addressed, or if you know someone and you want to hear their story shared, email us at uyteam@unashamedlyu.com. Or if you'll send me a message through social media, I love tackling those topics and featuring the guests that you all referred. And if this podcast blessed or helped you in any way, I would be delighted if you would head over to Apple or Spotify and leave us a review. Your reviews and your comments mean so much. Go be unashamedly you.